How's it going, everybody? My name is Dylan, also known as PatsFan177. Welcome back once again to the channel. And today we've got episode 2 of Patriots Acquisition Analysis. This time it is former Pro Bowl running back Lamar Miller. This is a pretty big name, at least if you were an NFL fan for the past 5 or 6 years. You probably remember at least something about Lamar Miller. He is a running back. He played with the Miami Dolphins and the Houston Texans, and now he is on his way to New England pending a physical. It'll be a 1-year deal for Miller. Now, he is coming off of an ACL injury, which is probably the reason he was still unsigned in August. He's a guy with a lot of talent, but again, coming off an injury, sort of a bargain bin deal, just like Cam Newton, maybe. I don't know how much money the deal is, but I would have to assume that that is not going to be very much money. He is said to be fully recovered and ready to play this season. So that's good news for him. He's not that old. He's 29. That's not too old, and especially for a running back. You've got guys like, Frank Gore out there that just won't stop playing. But it's tough. I know that it's definitely a difficult position to play. You're getting hit a lot. And an ACL injury for a running back is definitely not the most encouraging thing. However, he does seem to be fully recovered, and if that is true, then he could actually slot into this Patriots backfield. I mean, his last healthy season, his last full season, was 2018. He rushed for 5 scores and 973 yards on 210 carries for 4.6 yards per carry, while adding 25 receptions for 163 receiving yards and 1 touchdown. That's what I like about Miller. He seems to be a guy. I don't know much about his career with Houston. I remember him sort of in Miami, and I remember he signed with Houston. I think maybe in the same offseason they signed Brock Osweiler. They had a really big offseason that time. But I remember that he was like a power runner, and I didn't know that he was actually pretty good receiving the ball. He can catch the ball as well. He's had some great career highlights, 2 97-yard runs, one with each of his teams. He had one with Miami and one with Houston. It was really impressive to watch, some of his games in Houston. I think against the Colts, he had a really athletic touchdown run where he caught the ball and he kind of turned upfield, circled around, and just cut through a bunch of defenders for the score. Stuff like that. He seems to be a very athletic guy when he's healthy. He can get hit and keep going for yards after contact. That's one of his things that is very good about his game. I think he's a valuable runner when he's healthy, and obviously if he can get back to at least somewhat towards what he was doing, because I believe he's had 2,000-yard seasons before, and he nearly had a third in 2018. He had a really good year. He was selected to the Pro Bowl, so that just tells you all you need to know about him. He was, in 2014 and 2015, he averaged 985.5 rushing yards and 8 touchdowns per season. That's pretty impressive. That is nothing to sneeze at, and I know it's obviously 5-6 years ago now, and he's coming off an ACL injury. He's a lot older, but he is joining a crowded depth chart, as it says. We've got Sony Michel, we've got Rex Burkhead, obviously no more Brandon Bolden because he opted out. Damian Harris is there. James White is the passing back, really, so I kind of just look at him as his own separate position there. Sony Michel is on PUP, and we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know when he's coming back. He had another off-season surgery, so this is just, even if this is just an insurance policy for now, that's a good signing here, because you don't know the status of Sony Michel, and maybe you don't want to go into the season with just Rex Burkhead and Damian Harris. I like those two guys. They are very good players, but it's probably not the best thing to, as Belichick always says, you don't need insurance until you need insurance. So it's probably not the best thing to kind of be a little thinned out at that position. They've still got J.J. Taylor, who's my guy, but I don't know if he's actually got a shot to make the roster now with this addition of Lamar Miller. I really think that Lamar Miller could be a first and second down kind of back for the Patriots. He kind of seems like a Rex Burkhead type. Burkhead can run, and he can also catch. He's not one of those one-dimensional things. I think that was a big problem with the Patriots last year. their running game seemed way too one-dimensional, where, Sony Michel's on the field and they hand it off to him. And James White's on the field and you can almost be sure that it's a passing down. You kind of need to mix it up there. I think Burkhead can do that. He can do a little bit of both. They can all. I'm not saying that they can't do both of them, but I'm saying that Miller definitely seems to have his chops at receiving and rushing, definitely more strong as a rusher. So let's just take a little look at his stats here. He's got 105 career games, 1,354 rushing attempts for 5,864 yards. So he averages 4.3 yards per attempt and 32 touchdowns on the ground. Not very bad, as you can see, the two 97-yard runs. He's mixed in an 85-yard run there, so that's not bad at all. He does seem to be pretty good with getting first downs. Like I said, he's pretty good with yards after contact. And receiving, he's not bad. He's put up some decent yardage. His biggest one is 327 yards, so that's nothing like James White type, but that's still definitely a good number when you've got a running back that's putting up, 888 yards on the ground, and you can have more yards. We got all-purpose yards here, so that's nothing too bad. And obviously his last full year, selected to the Pro Bowl, 973 yards and 163 were receiving. I think I already said that earlier on. So again, really the question is right now is how will he fit and how much will he play? And I think if he's healthy, at least early on in the season, if Sony is still nursing that injury and trying to fully recover, they could be looking at Lamar for the first few weeks of the year, assuming they do have the season. They could be looking at him to kind of carry the load there and mix in James White and Rex Burkhead like they usually would. Maybe Damian Harris. I'm still very hopeful for him after basically redshirting his first year. But again, they have a lot of flexibility right now because this is a one-year deal, and I'm sure that when the terms of the contract come out, it won't be something that's too major, too drastic, and too much money spending on a guy that has been a free agent, and it is now August. So thankfully, it looks like hopefully he's just happy to get a home, and they won't have to spend too much money on him. I know that they've got enough money. They've got $35 million in cap space, not including the Michael Jackson deal and now this, so we don't know how much that number is at right now. I said that Belichick would probably be saving some of that, and I'm sure he probably will be for the contracts that are rolling over next year. But this one, like I said, it's a pretty good deal. It's a low-risk, high-reward deal, just like Belichick always loves. This seems like exactly like the Cam Newton deal. It's a guy who his last healthy year was 2018, and he played really great. He played great football in 2018. And the last year, for whatever reason, obviously with Cam, there was the foot injury, and him, the ACL. They were not up to their standard. They were not up to the player that they once were, and they kind of got written off. And now they've got more to prove in New England, and they got to prove that they can still play. That's the thing about the Patriots. They've got a lot of guys who want to prove that they can still play. But yeah, basic summary for him. He's a good rusher, and he's good at yards after contact. I think not really the biggest guy, but he can definitely hit the hole hard and keep going. When he gets into open space, he can really be dangerous. He can receive if he needs to, and I hope that he can get back some of that speed, some of that burst that he had, because he showed some really nice speed, especially in that 97-yard run, which I think, yeah, it was in 2018 against the Titans. And the first one, I don't remember who that was against. Maybe the Raiders. I'm not sure. But yeah, a guy who has put up nearly 3,000-yard rushing seasons can hopefully get back to form in New England. I know it'll be tough. The crowded backfield that is New England's backfield right now, it's not easy. It's not going to be easy for anybody to get consistent minutes. And that's what they're already saying about fantasy football. People are like, just don't even bother with the Patriots running backs, because it could be every week there's a different guy going off. But that's one of those things, you want that versatility. Something about Lamar is that he did play briefly with Deshaun Watson. and he had, I forget how much, but I know he's at least had experience with those read option plays or those pitch plays. And if the Patriots did want to implement something like that, like the Ravens do now, if they did want to do that with Cam Newton, obviously a more mobile quarterback than their previous one, I think Lamar would probably be pretty good at that. I would hope so. But yeah, that about sums it up for him. I will leave it at that. I hope you all enjoyed episode 2 of Patriots Acquisition Analysis. I'll be keeping my eye out for any other signings or acquisitions. And remember, always feel free to put your ideas for videos in the comments below. I'm always looking, I'm always open to new ideas. And other than that, I will talk to you all again very soon.